I'll take us back a bit into the licensing process
Yes.
with
Yep.
the Australian Pharmacy Council. So the competency stream is great for UK pharmacists, and like you said, it makes it a little bit easier compared to other countries because the degrees are relatively similar. And the application process, like you said, is a few documents, and it's basically they're checking your eligibility and whether or not you're suitable to become a pharmacist from the point of view of your qualifications. I've had a look at the website. The current wait time for that is around 12 weeks. So it's quite useful for people to know that it's a slightly slower process from that point of view. But once you have received feedback in terms of eligibility, you can then register yourself for the exam, which for people who are watching this video, it is very similar to the pre-registration or trainee pharmacist exam when you initially qualify. It is a 70-question MCQ exam. There isn't a specific pass rate for that. Year to year, they make decisions on the pass rate depending on how people have done in general on the exam. And 10 of the questions, I believe, are not counted. They are not fake questions, but they're using it for testing purposes to see whether or not they are appropriate for future exams. There are certain, and you can do it from the UK. That's another thing. The exam can be taken from the UK virtually. You need to go to a test centre. I believe it's a Pearson VUE test centre, which they have all over the country. And it's 2 hours open book. You can use the BNFC, which is one of the resources that we would use as pharmacists here, but also the Australian kind of national formulary for medications would be another option as to something you can use. There'll be calculation questions, clinical questions, but in general, if you're newly qualified, it'll be a piece of cake because you're very accustomed to that style of questioning, and the content is very similar to what people have done very recently for their training exam. So that's really useful. So if you are a trainee pharmacist out there looking to move to Australia or newly qualified, this is actually a perfect opportunity for you to get licensed, because you don't have to study as much as someone who might be 10 years experience but then feel like they have to go back and rework a lot of the content. Also, from the perspective of visas, like you said, you can, if you're young, if you're in your 20s, you can get a working holiday visa, which at the moment, we are so fortunate that they are really easy to get if you are in your 20s, early 20s. Actually, my cousin, Nikki, she's not in pharmacy, but she applied for a working holiday visa and it literally came the next day. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, so she moved about a month ago and she's living in Melbourne and she works in HR. So she has just gone on an adventure without a job, and she's finding a job once she gets there, but slightly different for pharmacists. Yeah, that option is incredible if you're of that age group. And as you get older, it's a point system in terms of the visas. Depending on your age, you get more or less points. The older you get, the less points you get because you're obviously not going to be able to work as long. I think obviously they take into consideration whether you have a family, because obviously you'll be sponsoring other people to come over to the country. So the sponsored visas or the long-term relocation type visas will probably take a little bit longer than the glorious 24 hours. But the good thing is there's options. And at the moment, because there is quite a large shortage of pharmacists within Australia, the drive for skilled workers in healthcare is huge. So this is amazing timing, amazing opportunity for people if they're really considering a move abroad. Like, this is the time to do it.